Uh-huh.
We wait at fast food takeout windows.
Okay.
We wait all the time. My mother is so impatient. And whenever we're at a stoplight, she wants the light to hurry up and turn green when she says for it to turn green. And Brother Bailey, on our way here tonight, we were on 80 and pulling off from the gas station, and the light turned red. She said, "Oh, we missed the light." Nobody likes to wait.
Uh-huh.
We fume at the traffic light delays and shift from one foot to the other in grocery lines. Nobody likes to wait.
All right.
We're frustrated. We're angry.
Preacher.
We are impatient beings.
Preacher.
We don't like to wait.
Preacher.
Yet in the Bible, God tells us to wait when it comes to his working in our lives and in the lives of those whom we love. But our problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that we usually can't see that God works in the waiting time as well as in the working time.
What?
I said God works in the waiting time as well as in the working time. That while you're waiting, he's working.
All right. Uh-huh.
And waiting is a part of God's plan for us. And often we can't understand the reason why we just have to wait. Our waits are in his will, but our awareness and the reason for the waits is unreasonable to us at this particular time. We don't understand why we have to wait.
Preacher!
It is often only after the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that we become aware that the Lord's hand was upon our schedules all the time. The hymnologist says that he was there all the time.
Yes, sir!
Waiting patiently with his arms stretched wide open. God is there, and he has always been there, and guess what? He will always be there in your waiting time. So your waiting time is his working time, which lets us know that it's not wasted time.
Hey!
Let me hear the church say, my waiting time is not wasted time.
It's not wasted time.
Because God is working out in time. Big Mama put it like this: he may not come when you want him,
well,
but he's always on time. Matter of fact, he's the only one I know that takes all day coming but still shows up on time.
Hey!
Someone said you can't hurry God, you just got to wait on him. You got to trust him and give him time no matter how long it takes. He's a God that you can't hurry. He'll be there, don't you worry. He may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, this very second, right now we're going through something that I've never seen in my years of life. And many of you have lived in a portion of decades, but haven't experienced anything quite like this coronavirus pandemic that we're in right now.
All right.
It seems that the entire world has come to a screeching halt. Everything was just going well, and people were going about their daily schedules. They were punching in at their job. They were going about traveling. They were going about doing what they do. But then all of a sudden, without any type of warning, the world came to a screeching halt. You know how it is when a person is driving and something gets in their way and they need to stop immediately? They go, screeching halt.
Yeah.
You stop all of a sudden. You stop right then. So it seems that the entire world has come to a halt, or at least a crawling pace. And this kind of abrupt change to the velocity or the speed of living feels a bit weird, and it feels a bit strange.
Well,
it feels a bit odd, doesn't it? that we have to come inside of a church or inside of any building with our mask on. Yeah. It feels a little strange, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who would ever thought that in order for you to enter into the bank that you have to have on a mask? Some time ago, if you came in the bank with a mask, they would look at you or call the police because they would think that you're about to rob them. But now it's norm. It's a part of our everyday living that everywhere you go, every place you go inside, they say to you, they ask of you to wear a mask.
Right.
Have you ever gotten out of your vehicle going inside of Kroger's and you forgot your mask in the car? And you got out of your vehicle and you walked up to the door and you remember, oh my God, I got to go back to the car and get my mask. I feel for those people who are handicapped, those people that are on canes and really trying to get inside of the doors, and then they remember that they don't have their mask. Now they got to walk all the way back. We don't like to wait. It seems a little odd. It seems a little strange. It seems a bit weird because our hurry living has become sit still. I said our hurry living has become sit still. And it doesn't feel like living to many people. In fact, for some people, it is causing mental and emotional distress. How are we as Christians to deal with these times?
How?
Well, you do know that we have two pandemics. We have two pandemic viruses right now. Two of them. First of all, we have COVID-19. Over some 2 million people have died as a result of this COVID-19. We have two pandemics, viruses. COVID-19, but not only that, but then we have police brutality, which is a pandemic.
That's correct.
You remember George Floyd and everything that took place with the George Floyd case and the police brutality, and it kicked off the Black Lives Matter movement, and everybody was marching, everybody was talking about these policemen, this policeman that had his white knee on this black man's neck.
Right.
And it caused a wildfire all across the world, and it caused riots, it caused looting all over the land and country. So we don't only have one pandemic, but we got two pandemics, and I come to tell you that police brutality is still alive right now.
That's right.
Black on black crime is still alive right now. Ain't no need of you marching talking about white folk beating up on black folk. What about black folk beating up on black folk? Black folk shooting black people. African Americans shooting black folk. If we're going to march, let's march for everybody. It's important for us tonight to use this opportunity
Preach, man!
right now to look for God's will and to do God's work. As God's redeemed people, we have the peace of God that passeth all understanding. Or at least we can have that. And to be sure, we can discover new things about how we ought to live and serve God effectively in every circumstance. So for the breadth and the length of time that I have before you tonight, I want to share with you some ways that you can have God's peace and carry out God's plan in such a time as this.
All right.
Our text today gives us some subtle but sure directions. How does God want us to wait in a dangerous, dreary, and deadly time like this? How does he want us to wait?
Talk.
First of all, David notes that we are to wait with our patience focused on the Lord. That's point number one. Wait with our patience focused on the Lord. Look what he says. He says, wait on the Lord. Now, most of us are in a hurry to get on with our lives at the speed and in the manner that we had before the virus erupted on the scene.
Right.
We just want things, and we want this pandemic to be over with so that we can go back to things like we used to do, the things we feel that we need to do, and we want to go back to church. We want our church to to go back the way it was, but I don't want the church to go back the way it was, because I think that there ought to be something new with the church after this virus is over.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to preach the same way that I was preaching before the virus came. I don't want to do the same things. I don't want to live the same way that I was living before the virus came.
Well,
something ought to be new about you. So instead of us focusing on what is going on in this pandemic, let me say that what you focus on is what you won't focus on. I said that what your focus is on is what your focus will be on. If your focus is on the pandemic, then that's what your focus is going to be on. But David said that we ought to wait with our patience focus on the Lord. Listen, we must not wait for the disease to end, but rather we ought to wait for the one who can end the disease.
Hey!
You missed that. Stop rewinding, I push play. I said we're not to wait for the pandemic to end, but we are to wait on the one who can end it. David says, wait on the Lord. Who can end it? And when we focus on him rather than the problem, a wonderful peace comes over our hearts and our minds. You see, God hasn't changed. He's the same yesterday. He's the same today. And he's the same forevermore. He still sits enthroned in heaven. And he can use all things for the good of them who love him and for those who are called according to his purpose. Romans chapter 8, verse number 28. I suppose that no generation in history, Brother Ashley, has ever had as much control over things that impact our daily life as we do in this 21st century.
Hey!
Look at us. Everything that we have is at our disposal. Our ability to travel. Our ability to stay in touch with each other. Our ability to do business without leaving home. Many of you are working from home. Our ability to obtain unlimited entertainment is a marvel of modern technology.
Right.
But yet we're not happy. Everything that we have is at our fingertips. Even before this pandemic, it was clear that homes were falling apart.
Right.
It was clear that it was at an unprecedented rate that young people were committing suicide at higher rates and higher numbers than ever in history. Drugs were ravaging the lives of young and old alike. Mental illness was rampant and our prisons were more crowded than at any time in the past. And we have at our disposal all the things our forebears dreamed of, but yet we're not happy.
Yeah.
We're not happy. We look to God, and God seeks to slow us down so that he can reveal to us the real meaning of life. Knowing him.
Talk, man.
Living in his will.
Talk, man.
Being indwelled with his spirit and sharing his love, it brings about the greatest measure of joy and success that one can ever know. I have noticed that since this pandemic has erupted, that more people are talking about God and turning to him in prayer more than any time that I can remember. Now perhaps, just go with me. Perhaps we are on the verge of a national or worldwide spiritual awakening. It seems that every time something bad happens, Americans, especially Americans, turn to God.
Yeah.
You remember at the outbreak of the Gulf War in the early 1990s?
That's right.
The church that I pastored in Marshall at the age of 18, Paradise Baptist Church, I mean, you couldn't fit nobody inside the church because of what was going on with that war.
Right.
Then a few years later, on September the 11th, 2001, God got our attention again.
Well,
You remember what happened, don't you? In New York City.
yeah.
With the Twin Towers. They were destroyed by Islamic terrorists. And every pastor that I talked to, Bishop Moore, they said that their churches
Yeah.
were filled.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yet, when the crisis was over, the seats that were filled were empty again.
Uh-huh.
I wish I had somebody in here.
We praying with you.
Perhaps people wanted God when they needed him, but turned their backs on him the moment that they felt safe again.
Ah. Oh, Lord.
People are saying right now, I can't wait to get back to church. Oh, I miss church. I listened to it on the conference call, but it's not like being there.
Right.
I watch it on cyber world and on social media, but it's not like being there. Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Get back inside the church. We saying that now
Uh-huh.
because this pandemic is going on.
Preach,
And
man.
I don't know how it's going to look when this pandemic is going to be over, because God has leveled us now to all on one level. Ain't no big churches.
No.
Ain't no little churches. Everything is one in the eyesight of God. People who pastor mega churches have thousands of members. Now ain't nobody in the room.
Yeah.
God has brought us down to the same
Same.
level. Well, brothers and sisters,
Preach,
perhaps
man.
this time,
Preach, man.
perhaps this time, individuals will have to take a little more time to consider how quickly our world can change and how long that change can last. Look at it. All the way since March. Almost a year.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to go back to things as usual.
Preach, man.
Some experts in government, finance, and education are saying that the world economy and international behavior will change forever because of the coronavirus. I don't know about that, but I do hope that it causes us
Preach,
in great
man.
numbers to turn to God.
Well,
Turn to God with true hearts of devotion and faith. And that's real change that the world really needs.
well,
For those of us who know the Lord tonight, we are to be patient. And David says, wait on him.
wait on
Listen
it.
again to what he said. He said, wait on the Lord. That's what he said, that we're not waiting for the pandemic to pass, but we're waiting on the Lord himself.
Well,
So we are learning anew that even when we think that we have control in life, that we're actually dependent on him. For without God, we can do nothing. Without God, we would fail. Without God, our life would be rugged just like a ship
hey.
without a sail. So I'm learning every day that I've got to lean and depend on Jesus.
Preach, man. Preach.
So David says tonight that if I'm going to have this prescription, if I'm going to be all right in the midst of this pandemic, he gives us some prescriptions. You know how it is when you go to the doctor and the doctors prescribe for you some medicine to take. Well, here's some medicine for you.
Well,
Here's some medicine for your church tonight. Here's some medicine for your Karnak. Here's some medicine for your East Texas. David says, wait with our patience, focus on the Lord.
on the Lord.
Let's not hold you too long. Point number 2, he says, wait with the power of good courage in the Lord. Look what he goes on to say, and be of good courage. Now, the word good courage used here in our text today must be explained, because in the text, these two words come from a single Hebrew word. In Hebrew, this one word is shazak. And it's used several times in the Old Testament. It's a very interesting word indeed. It means to take hold of. It means to make firm. It has at its root the idea of becoming strong, rigid, and secure. David says, be of good courage.
Good courage.
Now, whenever trouble comes, believers are to fix themselves in the strength of the Lord.
Of the Lord.
Yeah, look what he says. He says, be of good courage. Fix yourself in the strength of the Lord.
Preach, man.
Now, it's not a matter of how well I can handle something, but rather it concerns how well I can trust God to handle everything that arises.
Yeah.
He said that I must have a fixed courage that doesn't waver. And when the storms of life are raging,
Preach, man.
I've got an anchor that keeps me steadfast and unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, so as much as you know that your work is not in vain.
Well,
He uses this word here in the text for good courage. You do know that it is a verb. Oh yes, my teacher in school told me that a verb, it requires action. Yeah, it calls for a continuing action.
Preach, man.
He says that I must lay hold of the Lord and his promises. And I must be fixed in that position. He says if I do that, I shall not be moved by adversity. And so tonight, my brothers and my sisters, in this time of the unknown, when fear and when trouble are on every side, we as Christians ought to lay hold of that which has already laid hold of him. You know that God have you in the palm of his hand. Yes, he has you in his hands, and he has the whole wide world wrapped up in his hand. You know, we used to sing a song that says he's got the whole wide world in his hands. Yes, he's got you, me, and sister all in his hands. And there's another song that we used to sing that talked about the hand of the Lord. We would sing a song like Father, I stretch. Y'all gonna help me, aren't you? My hand under thee. No other help that I know. And if thou withdraw thyself from thee, oh, where shall I go? I want to tell you tonight that you need to hold on to God's unchanging hand. And wait with the power of good courage that is in the Lord. I gotta leave you now. The clock on the wall says that's about all. I've had fun, but Raven gotta run. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. But I thought that I would give you some holy prescriptions. I thought I'd tell you to wait with our patience, focus on the Lord. And wait with the power of good courage in the Lord. Let me leave you by telling you this last prescription. Wait with the promise of a strengthened heart from the Lord. Look what the C clause says, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Oh Lord, in one verse prior to Psalms 27 and 14, David wrote that he would have fainted had he not believed in the goodness of the Lord. And what this verse really means is that David says, I would have lost my heart. Unless I had believed. Oh Lord, David says, I would have lost my mind unless I had believed. Oh Lord, David says, I would have been cuckoo had I not believed. And I thank God tonight that David tells me that I got to hold on with the promise of a strengthened heart that comes from the Lord. Wait on the Lord and courage. And the Lord will strengthen our heart. Yeah, wait, I say, on the Lord. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just waiting on Jesus. Yeah, cause I know one day all my waiting days will soon be over. Yeah, one of these old days I won't have to wait no more. Yeah, oh, I know it gets rough sometime, but I'm gonna wait on Jesus. Storms may rise and strong wind may blow, but I'm gonna wait on Jesus. Yeah, the weight of the world gets down on my shoulders, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on Jesus. Is there anybody here tonight that's waiting on the Lord? Yeah, it really pays to wait on Jesus. Yes, yes, oh yeah, it really pays to wait on the Lord. Stay right there. Don't you throw in the towel. Oh, stay right there. Wait on the Lord. How you really waiting on tonight? Don't fool me now. I heard Isaiah saying, but they that wait, yes sir, upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Oh, mount up with wings as eagles. Run and not get weary. You ought to walk and not faint. He says, just wait on the Lord. Is there anybody here that's waiting on the Lord? It pays to wait on Jesus. I don't know about you, but I'm going to wait on him. I may have to cry sometime, but I'm going to wait on the Lord. I may have to go on my knees sometime. Lord, I'm going to wait. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait right there until my change comes. Thank you, Job, for reminding me that all of the appointed time I'm going to wait until my change comes. I said I'm going to wait until my change comes. If there anybody here that's going to wait for your change to come, I know it gets rough sometimes, but hang on in there. I heard David sing that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I'm gonna wait on Jesus, cause I know my waiting days will soon be over. I thank God that I'm on the hill that was called Calvary. He waited on me. Is there anybody here? No, he waited on you. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He waited on me. Out on Calvary's hill. He died. Anybody know he died? Oh, he died until the stars fell from the silver sockets. He died between good and evil. He died that the trucker put down his bottle. He died till the Dutchman found his way home. He died until the liar gave up his mind. He died until the thief repaid his wages. He died King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He died as the King of Day was tucked in with the white cloak of the Queen of the Night, and the earth's natural satellite appeared to be washed in the rich red blood. Oh, he died until morning glow star took a seat and bowed in homage as the Son of Man was shining on Calvary. Oh, he died. Let the church say he died. Oh, he died. Let the graves were opened up. The dead had a protest in the streets of Jerusalem that you crucified the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Oh, he died. 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 One Friday night, they put him in a grave, and he stayed there on Friday night, stayed there on Saturday morning, stayed there on Saturday night. But is there anybody here know that early Sunday morning he rose? Oh, he rose. Oh, he rose. He rose. He rose with all power. Anybody know he got power? If you're gonna wait on him tonight, let me hear you say it. Say it. I'm gonna wait on him. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna wait on him.
Raven! 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 Oh, yes, sir!
I'm gonna wait on him.
Yeah, Lord.
May have to cry sometime,
Hey!
but I'm gonna wait on him. I know y'all.
Raven!
I know you're going through something right now. But is there anybody here that can say, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me now?
Hey!
I'm waiting on him.
Yes!
I'm waiting on him.
Hey! Raven!
I'm waiting on him.
Hey!
Yeah.
Hey!
I'm waiting on him.
Yeah!
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to holler like that.
Go, Raven!
I didn't mean to holler.
Help yourself!
I didn't mean to holler like that.
Help yourself!
But every now and then I get an itch
Yeah!
down in my belly, brother.
Uh-huh!
And the only way I know how to scratch it
Uh-huh!
is by hollering.
Hey!
My mama liked to hear me holler.
Hey!
My kinfolk like to hear me holler.
That's right! That's right!
Big Daddy like to hear me holler.
That's right!
J.J. Jones like to hear me holler.
Yeah!
So is it all right if I just holler?
Holla!
Anybody here, can you feel like me? Do you feel like hollering? Anybody here feel like hollering? Well, come on and just holler with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go ahead and holler.
Oh! Oh! Hey! Yeah! Yes, sir! Yes, sir! Yes, sir!
Wait on the Lord.
Oh, my.
Be of.
Yeah. Oh,
And
God.
he shall
Oh, God, brother.
strengthen
Yeah.
thine heart.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that?
Oh, my.
Wait on the Lord and be of good courage. Oh, wait on the Lord and be of good courage. Wait on the Lord and be platform, you don't mind. Listen. Oh, in the time of trouble, you know what? He shall hide me. Oh, in the time of trouble.
Yeah!
He shall hide me.
Well,
In the time of trouble, He shall hide me. Who shall? Who shall I? Other churches open. Fear. Oh, whom shall I fear? Whom shall I